All right, everybody. I'm happy you're all here. Today, we're rowing, and we're just doing a 500-meter interval workout where I just go interval on interval and I meet that 500-meter effort. And in that 500-meter effort, usually I'm shooting for around 2 minutes. I like to row at like a 1 minute 51 second to 1 minute 55 seconds. That lets me know that I'm pulling strong and I'm pulling consistently fast. So, rowing is kind of an interesting ordeal. I didn't really know too much about rowing or rowing mechanics when I initially got into a Concept 2, when I initially got into CrossFit. So, I've come a fairly long ways, and in this first set you're gonna see that wire that I'm pulling on. it's a metal wire. It's like a metal chain, right? In the same way that you have a metal chain on your bike that grabs onto the teeth of the gears. It's the same concept with the Concept 2, is that there's this metal wire that's linked, and it grabs onto these chains. It grabs onto the teeth of this gear that spins around, right? A little bit of a mechanics lesson for you there. So the harder that you pull on this thing, in the same way that when you make a revolution, when you're pedaling your bike, you're essentially propelling yourself forward in that same stroke, in that same revolution. So yeah, this is something that took a little bit of time for me to really understand properly, and through time and through proper coaching and having great friends who are much better at rowing than I am, I get the opportunity to get better at this skill. I think I was talking to somebody there. And you might, in looking at me rowing right now, I have my AirPod in my mouth, but something that I did want to touch on, and I have a video on this actually in some of my earlier episodes where I talk about nitric oxide. Don't worry, I'm going to get back into the importance of proper mechanics on the row. We got 4 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. We got plenty of time. So, in regard to nitric oxide, when you're breathing through your nose, the oxygen that goes through that nasal passageway has, in your paranasal sinuses, contains an enzyme called nitric oxide synthase, NOS. And let's see if I get this right. NOS is sitting in your paranasal sinuses. As you breathe through your nose, these enzymes will get picked up by the current in which you're breathing in oxygen down your, see if I get this right, down your bronchioles, all the way down to your alveoli. When your oxygen molecule gets down into your alveoli from your bronchioles, it then picks up oxygen. It then picks up onto a hemoglobin, a red blood cell. And the way that happens is the oxygen diffuses into the bloodstream, catches onto the red blood cell. The red blood cell simultaneously crosses through the alveoli, picks up the oxygen, and then takes the oxygen down through your arteries and then permeates. And this is not just one red blood cell, remember, this is thousands of red blood cells that pick up the nitric oxide. And in that same stroke, nitric oxide and oxygen gets perfused throughout your tissue, your muscles, and your brain, all over your body. And now what's so special about nitric oxide synthase is that it's the precursor to nitric oxide. When nitric oxide gets into your bloodstream and permeates through your muscles, it triggers a state called the parasympathetic state, and it allows you to rest and recover faster. And while you're doing this, your body switches on and off between a sympathetic state and a parasympathetic state. When you're in your rest interval, you're breathing through your nose, you drop into that parasympathetic state where your body begins to relax just enough to recover fast enough to get back into that next interval. Now, with that out of the way, go check out the video. I explain it in much further detail. With the row, you want to pull past your toes. You want to begin past your toes. Pull into that belly, just on the tippy top of your abdomen. You're extending hard with those legs. And pulling the hardest at the top of that pole, as you see. And there's like recoil that'll happen with that chain. Here, I'll talk over this just a little bit more, and I'll put a picture up. But the reason why you do it that particular way is because you get the most power. You're emphasizing the extension at your legs more than you're emphasizing extension at your back, which a lot of people make that mistake. Anyways, this is Physiology for the Uninitiated. Thank you for tuning in. This was the rowing interval workout. Bye-bye.